We seem to think that some things are true. I'm going to show you by the time this class is done that that's not the case. Not only are social science notions usually a bunch of crap, but hard science as well. Science has been wrong what percentage of the time? 100% of the time. The age of enlightenment, you know, when we knew everything. You have Copernicus, and you have all the great scientists of the past. You have Einstein. And as soon as we come up with the notion of, oh my gosh, we got it all figured out, then the next scientist goes, oh, you know what? We were completely wrong about everything. But now we've got it figured out, and everyone goes, whew, we're in the age of enlightenment. Now we know everything. We got it figured out. And then the next generation goes, idiots, you had it all wrong. Now we know, though. And guess what our science is saying? Now we've got it figured out, right? Isn't that what you've been taught? This is the truth. We know it because we have the scientific method. We come up with a theory, we test it out, we observe it. What is the key to it? Observation and measurements. If you can't measure it or observe it, then it doesn't exist in the science world. All we do is we observe something and then we reverse engineer and try to explain what we just observed. That's all science is. We look at stuff and we go, based on what we see now, it could have happened this way. And then you raise your hand and you say, what caused the Big Bang? Shh. Don't ask that. There's a whole bunch we don't know, right? What makes us think we have it all figured out now? So when somebody comes to me and goes, oh, we've got it all figured out, it's what we observe and what we measure, I say, okay, what if you observe wrong? What if you measure wrong? How long do you observe before you know it's the case? If I take this pin and I let it go, what happens? It falls. Did you know it was going to do that? How did you know? Gravity is not how you know. Previous experience. That's an explanation as to why. What is gravity? Do we have any idea how it works? No. Have you ever been taught how it works? It's called a theory. What we do is we measure and we go, look at this. Shit, come over here, look at this. Watch this, watch this. Why did it do that? Right? I don't know. I'll bet you it could be, and we come up with a theory. And that's our truth until something else happens. I let this go 1,000 times and we go, okay, I can conclude that 1,001th time it's going to drop and hit. Oh, you see, I'm brilliant. I can see into the future and I'm a scientist. And it is that way until it floats. Right? Will it ever float? I saw you in the back. No. And you go, damn it, I shouldn't say no because we don't know. How many times you flip the light on in your home and it goes on? And then off. And then on. And then off. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And then one day you walk into the room and you flip the light on and what happens?
It doesn't turn on.
Doesn't go on. That's happened to you, right? And what do every single time? You grab the switch and you go. Because you think, it's got to go on because all my experience has told me that it's going to go on. Perfect example of this is something we used to call global warming. How do we know there's global warming? Ocean water level rising, polar ice caps are melting, and they're actually measuring the temperature, right? And so we're saying, hey, it's getting warmer. And we say, okay, look, it's getting warmer, it's getting warmer, it's getting warmer. Okay, we've been measuring for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. Okay, I think that's enough. All we have to do is project this out. And we know how warm it's going to be in 100 years, and 200 years, and 300 years, right? You assume things are going to stay the way they do indefinitely. So if I were to get up in the morning and I were to measure, and I see that the temperature is going like this, and I measure it at 8 a.m., at 9 a.m., at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I go, you know what? How often do I have to measure? If I measure every minute, do I really need to keep measuring? Pretty obvious to me that by midnight and tomorrow at noon, it's going to be about 300 degrees and we're all going to be dead. These are the flaws of the scientific method. We assume that things are constant and static, that our life is the standard by which all things are judged. that it's not the life of a tsetse fly, that it's not the life of the universe of 10 billion years. So in our world, we're the tsetse fly, and we're judging it based on this. And we're going, well, shoot, we live 24 hours. It's going to be... So as critical thinkers, we challenge everything because we realize that everything can be challenged and questioned. Let me show you something. This right here. What's it doing? Up and down, side to side. What's it doing? Which way is it going? What if I turn it the other way? Oh. If I had you measure this over and over again, how many times would it take for you to say, I know what's going to happen next time? Well, every time he flips it, it's going to do the same thing, right? And then you go, wait a second, until it doesn't. Is it doing the same thing? Small adjustments make a big difference. And things that you think are true because of your perception are false. Our perceptions lie to us. If I were to, 100 years ago, take a big chunk of metal, a couple tons of steel, and it's 200 years ago, and I say, hi everybody, I am magical. I'm going to take all this chunk of steel here, and I'm going to get everybody to come over here, climb on. And all the people are over here, and they all climb on. And we've got a bunch of apparently poor people up here. We got all the people climbed on of my chunk of steel. And I say, no, more. We need more people on here. And I say, watch, I'm going to make this float with all these people on it. And I'm going to not only make it float, but I'm going to swish it around. I'm going to make it go whoosh, hundreds of miles an hour, whoosh, hundreds of miles an hour, and then back and land it here with everyone safe. You know what everyone would do? They would take me, tie me up, build a nice bonfire, and toss me in, because I'd be a witch. Until what? All I have to do is get that to float. Very simple. And I say, you know what? I can get it to float because of this. That shape right there. Bam. Next. What's that? It's a wing. That little shape makes hundreds of tons of steel and people float. And so you have all these things that science and everybody's told you is completely impossible to do. Completely impossible. Why? Because we know, we can measure it. The stuff that it was completely impossible is very possible. So challenge everything, question everything.